Here we go now. Hour 3 of our radio program. Good to have you with us on this Tuesday as we talked about what's going on as far as the world of sports is concerned. A lot of baseball so far today, a little NBA, and let's get you a little potpourri, get you set up for what's going on as far as the world of sports is concerned. I'll start with the NBA since we just finished here with Fizdale and the Knickerbockers. I don't know how to read Toronto. I know the story, not the Cavaliers and not LeBron. It's Toronto. Do I give them an amazing amount of credit for somehow winning 59 games with this lack of, there's not a lot of talent on the team? That, they don't have a big-time player. There's not a top 10 player in the NBA on the team. There's probably not a top 20 player on the NBA on the team. You might even be hard-pressed to have a top 30 player on this Toronto team this year. I mean, when you get right down to it, to be fair about it, they have a deep roster. They play a lot of guys. But maybe the issue is not so much that Toronto runs away and hides when they see number 23 in the Superman cape. Maybe that isn't the story. The fact that right now they are 2-12 against the Cavaliers and LeBron in postseason play the last 3 years. I don't know if that is so much the story as is the fact that somehow this team won 59 games with this motley crew. Larry is okay. DeRozan is okay. I mean, they're good players, but they're not great players. They're okay. And the rest of that crew is, Ibaka is all right. He's the fourth player on a real good team. Valanciunas is okay. He's a fifth player on a great team. I mean, that's not that good. I mean, C.J. Miles has bounced around from franchise to franchise. I mean, DeLon Wright. I mean, I got a lot of guys on that team. They're resourceful. And they're relatively interchangeable, but they got absolutely annihilated in these matchups. They had nobody to guard LeBron. We didn't notice, but they had nobody to guard Kevin Love. He killed him in this series. In big spots. They blew game one because they fell apart. They couldn't make a tip-in basket, which obviously would have won the first game at the end of regulation. And they just collapsed after that. So they played pretty hard in game three. LeBron's genius somehow pulled the game out with that banked floater on the left side. So from that perspective, they were a little unlucky in a couple spots. And remember, if they make the tip and LeBron doesn't make the floater, they're down 2-1 playing in overtime in game four, which is not the worst thing. But overall, I mean, instead of discussing, how they fold, we should discuss maybe how they won 59 games because I don't see a lot there. And, I thought Toronto would win this series, so I got it. Obviously Cleveland really struggled against, really was a pretty big front line. Sabonis is big. Miles Turner is big. They had a lot of trouble. Bogdanovich is a big guy. They had a lot of trouble there against Indiana. They toyed with Toronto, and they embarrassed Toronto last night. I mean, Toronto tried for about a quarter and a half, and then they decided, you know what, we got no chance. A little spurt there at the end of the second quarter, down by 15 at the half, and Toronto decided, you know what, we can't beat this team. We'll throw away our regular season and move on. But Toronto's issue is not so much they can't beat Cleveland. Toronto's bigger issue is they won 59 games, and they're not a 59-win team. That's their issue. So the Raptors are a disaster. That's number one here today. You figured the Sixers. I wasn't sure about the Sixers. I thought the Celtics would actually win last night, so I didn't see a lot of this game. Time I get 6 o'clock start and everything else. I was surprised when I got home and it was a 10-point lead. Philadelphia did what they had to do. That T.J. McConnell's played very, very well in this series. He gets the start last night. It was a good move by Brett Brown. I'll get to him in a minute. And it worked out, and he's done a nice job. Comparing Simmons to a guy like Magic Johnson, which I heard all year is an insult. Simmons can't shoot. He's a lousy free throw shooter. He can't score. He cannot score from the perimeter. His team in LSU collapsed. He has not played well in this series. He's only 20. He's 21 years old. He only played the 1 year in college. He had the 1 year he missed out. So he was hurt. You got to give him a break. He's obviously a very young player. But let's not put Simmons. It's not right to put him in the Magic Johnson category. Don't even go there. I know a lot of people, look at the 6'8" point guard. They say, well, he's Magic Johnson. Remember, Magic wasn't open. He came out of college, too. He only played 2 years in college. So, in essence, his rookie year, he's the same age as Simmons. Now, he had Kareem, and Embiid is not Kareem. I know he thinks he is, but he ain't. And, one thing about Philadelphia, can Philadelphia last night, boy, they're very immature. Can they stop, screaming and yelling at the Celtics when you're down 3-0 in a series? Embiid's keep him out shut. You're down 3-0. You have done absolutely nothing but collapse in a couple of these games. And I got to beat it, yelling at Morris. Can you shut up? Can you win a couple of ball games before we start, pounding your chest when you're down 3-0 in a best of 7 and you're about to get swept? Now, they won a game. All right, fair enough. But still, they're not winning game 5. Show me something by winning game 5. How about that? And then maybe you can, get the Celtics a little nervous. But my God, I could not believe that they reacted at times like they reacted last night. That was such a big deal. And one other thing, and I don't know anything about him, and he's been there a long time, and he's dealt with a lot of losing, so I don't want to come down too hard on him. But I don't, again, never been on, don't know anything about him. I don't need Brett Brown, who has been completely outcoached in this series by Stevens. I don't need Brett Brown acting like Popovich at the end of these quarters. Remember, the coach of the home team talks to ESPN or talks to TNT at the end of the third quarter, like the visiting coach talks at the end of the first quarter, and the head coach talks at the end of the third quarter. They're required to by the league. That is a contractual issue that the NBA does, so every coach has to do it, can't throw it to an assistant. They are forced to do it. They don't like doing it. Some of them, though, do a better job of embracing it than others. Popovich made an art of having fun with it and, being annoying and being a bit of a jerk, but at least he had some fun with it, and he did a great job when I forget his Craig, who got sick and passed. Everybody noticed that? It really bothered me. He left the poor girl out there hanging. She's nervous as Nelly. She's got producers in her headsets telling what to ask with these long, expounded questions that take forever to get answered. I mean, when you're doing those sideline things, one-word questions, thoughts, rebounding, defense, one word. Get it in and out of there pretty quick. None of these 10-second, 20-second responses. It drives you absolutely crazy. But anyway, Brown did a terrible job and embarrassed himself with that. Stop with the Popovich act, okay? You knocked Popovich, number 1. Popovich has made a career out of it, number 2. He's won 5 championships, number 3. You've done absolutely nothing. Don't do that. He was completely out of line with that. That bothered me. I wanted to make sure I said that. And again, with the reporters, the sideline girls and guys, quick. They're way too expressive with these long and elongated 25-second questions. I mean, before the game you said this, and then the Sixers did that, and you had to readjust to this, and now you stand here, your thoughts. No. In and out. You get a better response that way. All right, that's the second thing I wanted to get to is Brown in the series. All right, number 3, the Capitals have done a superb job. Now, I don't like what Hayden said earlier today, and if it was a little too much partying, you can make an argument. I know it was a big series. Anytime you beat Pittsburgh, the defending champs, you give them credit. They were down 1-0. They had a bad loss in game 1. They could have easily lost to Columbus. They got out of that series with the double overtime game 3 win. Good job there by Washington in round 1. I buy that. And they've done a nice job, and they went to Hopi, and Hopi's played very well. Last year he did not. Ovechkin's been sitting there dying to get to this level. I understand that too. But the Capitals get 110 points every year. The Capitals should have won about a couple of cups long before this to begin with. The Capitals cannot act like they've already done something because they beat the Penguins. And I know that the Penguins have been your nemesis and they've beaten you 9 out of 10 times. I get all that. I understand it. And Ovechkin never gets through Pittsburgh. I get that too. So there has to be a little glee there. And they scored in overtime last night, which there was. But you can't act like you won the Stanley Cup because you have not done that yet. You won a second round of the playoff series. You're halfway home. Now, they got 4 or 5 days to recover and get ready for Tampa, and they have a lot of mojo going right now, and I think they have a lot of belief. Tampa's very, very good, and Tampa's better probably pound for pound, player by player, and Tampa's been very efficient. But the Bruins are not Pittsburgh, okay? Bruins are not Pittsburgh, and Tampa had to work awfully hard to beat the Bruins. They won an overtime game. They won 2 close games. I mean, Pittsburgh that's a big-time team. Bruins are not. So remember, let's not go crazy on Tampa, but too many people in Washington all excited. Do something besides winning a second round. Could you please do that? That's important. So that's the third item I wanted to mention here today. Fourth item is the Predators, who did a very good job last night up in Winnipeg. They got even in that best-of-7 series at 3 games apiece. This series deserved the 7th game. Both teams have won 2 games on the other guy's home ice, which is impressive. And both games that the teams have won on the other team's ice, they've been dominant. Dominant's too strong, but very impressive. Obviously, a very good performance by Nashville in Game 4 to get even in this series, and an excellent performance last night where they scored early. They survived 3 power play opportunities by the Jets, and then, played really well after that. Winnipeg wasn't terrible in the game, except on a power play, and Nashville wins the game 4-0 and puts themselves now in a 7th game at home. Winnipeg was great down in Nashville in game number 5. They were very good in game number 1. They have 2 days off because there's a Justin Timberlake concert Wednesday night in Nashville. That's why there's the extra day here. But that will be a very good Game 7. That's the only hockey game you're going to have for the next 5 or 6 days. That's a 9 o'clock start. That will be an excellent game on Thursday night. And I don't know how many times I've told you, 2-2, third period, Game 7, Jets and Predators. I said that before the series began. I didn't. I thought maybe Nashville would lose last night, so I probably got off it a little bit. But that has been a hell of a series, and that will be a very, very good Game 7. Winnipeg will score in that 7th game. They will score. Their offense will be better. And remember, nobody has lost 2 games in a row yet in this series. And then key in a best of 7 is not to lose 2 games in a row. And nobody has yet lost 2 in a row. So that has to be broken if Nashville is going to win this series and get ready for Vegas, which would begin over the weekend. That is number 4. Number 5, we give the Orioles now with the Cubs. Interesting. A lot of people think that the Cubs might make a run at Machado with Baltimore. Now, Baltimore has been atrocious. The season is over. Now, he doesn't like surrendering the white flag, but, his team's about 25 games out. The Orioles cannot win a game. They've won 8 games or 9 games all year. They've been an absolute mess. Machado is never going to re-sign there. They did not trade him in the offseason. They probably, as it turns out, they made a mistake. They should have taken their best package and done it then. I don't know what the Cubs would give them, but the Cubs might give them a little more than normal because of the fact that the Cubs think they probably could re-sign him long term. Now, Machado, if he has a dream about going to the Yankees, I don't think the Yankees are going to go near Machado. They have a good short. They have a great shortstop as it is, and they got a young kid at third base. I don't see the Yankees spending $400 million on Machado. I just don't see it. Now, and he wants to play shortstop or third base, and I don't think the Yankees are going to go there. They got no place to put him. They got too many great young players making no money. So I don't think the Yankees are going to do that. So Machado's dream about New York may not come through. I mean, I don't think he's going to the Red Sox. They have a young left side of the infield as well. There'll be somebody, and the Dodgers have, obviously Seager and Turner. So I don't think he's going there. So I don't know where he's going to go. The Cubs have Bryant at third base. It seems like they fall in and out of love with Addison Russell. So maybe shortstop in Wrigley Field is a possibility. The problem the Cubs have is if they give him $350 million, they got to give Bryant that kind of money down the road. So, but maybe for the time being, the Cubs, whose goal is to win a championship, will go out there and see if they can get him signed or get him traded, get him in a trade, give up some prospects. Theo's got a good farm system. Give them a couple of young players. There might be a pitcher that the Orioles could use. Let the Orioles start on rebuilding, and then, in fact, let Machado play shortstop for the Cubs. They can, I don't know what they can do with Baez. I mean, but something may be able to be worked out. The Cubs do not score enough runs for this team. And they've been fumbling around here at 17-14. The Cubs should not be 17-14. As simple as that. They got too much talent on that team to be this bad again. I mean, Bryant, Rizzo, Happ, Baez, Russell, Contreras, Schwarber, Lester, Hendricks. Morrow's done a good job in the bullpen. They should not be 3 games over 500. That's a joke. So maybe Machado. 5:17 with your calls when we return. Mad Dog.